Greetings to you, the dreamers who still hallucinate about a fair workplace. You march into your newsrooms, your sterile office blocks, or your billion-dollar silicone fortresses with the hearts of lambs and a staggering blind devotion. You believe that your kindness is a shield capable of withstanding the tempests of power. How delusional. The collapse of goodness that lacks the spine of strength is the ultimate tragedy of the innocent laborer. Cast your gaze around you. Your open-plan sanctuaries are not places of harmony. They are battlefields, devoid of gunpowder, but soaked in the blood of ambition. Success in this modern theater is not a trophy awarded to the most diligent, but a prize for those who have mastered the art of the fox to scent the hidden snare, and the lion to scatter the wolves that prowl the corridors of management. In this war of positions, your devotion is merely the fuel for those who truly know how to command. Never allow yourselves to forget my truest axiom, which remains as lethal today as it was in the courts of the Medici. Men ought either to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, of more serious ones they cannot. If you merely offend a colleague with a slight, you invite their vengeance. If you must move against them, ensure they are left utterly powerless to strike back. If you possess not the fortitude to unsheath your own sword and seize the initiative, then prepare your neck for the yoke. To be unarmed in a den of realists is not a sign of virtue, it is a death sentence. Stand ready to be ground into the dust beneath the polished heels of those who understand the world as it is, or learn at last to be the master of your own fortune.
You have been fed a diet of presumed morality, a comforting hallucination that the workplace rewards the righteous and protects the humble. Abandon this fantasy at the threshold. I do not speak of how men ought to live, for the distance between how one lives and how one ought to live is so vast that he who neglects what is actually done for what is imagined effects his own ruin. In the high-tech fortresses and glass towers of your age, business is not merely like politics. It is often more cutthroat and unforgiving than the courts of kings. To act with professions of virtue in an environment crawling with those who are not virtuous is to invite a swift and certain destruction. In this theater, business results and the cold acquisition of influence are the only altars that matter. Conventional ethics are often but a cloak used to conceal the daggers of your rivals. What then is required to survive this den of wolves? It is a concept the ancients called virtu, not a moral virtue of the spirit, but a relentless bandling, a mastery of self and circumstance. In your digital era, virtu is not merely technical expertise, it is the capacity to adapt, to be decisive when others waver, and to force the sight of your office to obey your will rather than being a slave to its whims. A true leader possessed of virtu understands the art of internal governance. They regulate their own emotions, suppressing envy, contempt, and anger, not out of kindness, but as a strategic alignment to flourish where others fly off the handle and lose. They use prudence to gain effectiveness, knowing that influence is a weapon that must be maintained with the same diligence a soldier uses to sharpen his blade. Finally, consider the nature of Fortuna, the erratic goddess of luck. She is a raging, torrential river that, when in flood, sweeps away trees, buildings, and the unprepared. You see your colleagues drowned by sudden layoffs or the shifting tides of the market, and they cry out against bad luck. But fortune shows her power only where virtu has not prepared the barriers to resist her. While the weather is fair and your career is at its zenith, that is the hour to build your dams. You must cultivate your network of allies and forge your own private board of directors while the sky is clear, so that when the floods of adversity inevitably rise, the waters are diverted into canals of your own making. Fortune may be the arbiter of half our actions, but she leaves the other half for us to direct through our own valor and foresight. To be prepared for the worst in times of peace is the only way to remain the master of your own destiny when the storm breaks.
Envision a world where you are no longer the pawn pushed across the sterile board by invisible hands of management. Desire the transformation into the grandmaster, the one who perceives the game 3 moves before the trap is even set. To reach the zenith of your career, you must wed the cunning of the fox to the ferocity of the lion. The fox in you will develop a nose for the subtle poison hidden in a colleague's praise, and detect the hidden snares laid within a manager's vague promise. But the fox alone is a fugitive. You must also possess the spine of the lion to protect your status, utilizing a cold, calculated firmness that ensures no one dares to encroach upon your domain. Hunger for the only absolute security known to man, the power of being indispensable. True safety is never granted by the grace or mercy of a boss. Such things are as fickle as the wind and can be withdrawn at a whim. He who relies on the favor of others builds his career upon the mud. Instead, strive to become the very foundation upon which the organization rests, the fortress of specialized knowledge and strategic influence that cannot be bypassed or demolished. When your removal would signify the company's own ruin, you have achieved a peace that no human resource department can threaten. Yet, as you ascend this mountain, you must purge your spirit of the most dangerous hallucination, the belief in eternal loyalty. Men are inherently ungrateful, changing their hearts as quickly as their fortunes. They will offer you their devotion while the sun shines, but will vanish or betray you the moment the first cloud of necessity appears. Never allow a recent raise or a shallow promotion to lull you into a false sense of peace with a former rival. Hold this oracle close to your heart. He who believes that new benefits will cause great personages to forget old injuries is deceived. The scars of past conflicts remain beneath the skin of professional courtesy. To forget this is to hand your neck to the executioner. Rise with eyes wide open to the changeable nature of man, and let your ambition be guided by the cold clarity of the world as it truly is.
To rule your career, you must possess no other aim or thought than the art of war and its discipline, for it is the only art of concern to one who commands. Your first action is to transform yourself into an indispensable fortress of knowledge and skill that the company cannot bypass without risking its own ruin. Look to Hiero of Syracuse. As a private citizen, he realized his old alliances were useless, so he cut them to pieces, abolished the old soldiery, and built a new force loyal only to him. In your office, you must dismantle existing dependencies and replace them with your own unique ordinances. Create a private board of directors, a network of mentors and confidants who ensure you are the only one who can navigate the most critical systems. When you are the foundation upon which the structure rests, your boss cannot remove you any more than a builder can remove a cornerstone without the roof collapsing upon his own head. Purge yourself of the desire for neutrality, for it is an exceedingly dangerous path that leads in most instances to destruction. A prince is respected when he is a true friend or a downright enemy. If you stand neutral, you will invariably fall a prey to the victor, to the satisfaction of the loser who saw you refuse to share his risks. To eliminate opposition, do not attack the strong directly. Instead, make yourself the head and protector of your feebler colleagues. By arming the weak with your support, those arms effectively become yours, allowing you to weaken the powerful from below. Identify your enemies early and do not merely slight them. Men ought either to be well treated or crushed,
for they avenge small injuries but are powerless against great ones. Isolate your rivals by winning over their supporters with benefits conferred little by little, so the flavor of your favor lasts longer. Finally, you must master the management of your own image. Is it better to be loved or feared? We should wish to be both, but since they rarely go hand in hand, it is far safer to be feared than loved. Love is held by a chain of obligation, which men, being ungrateful and selfish, break at every opportunity for their own advantage, but fear preserves you by a dread of punishment which never fails. However, you must inspire fear without incurring hatred. To achieve this, stay your hand from the property and the status of your subordinates, for men forget the death of a father sooner than the loss of their patrimony. If you must use cruelty to restore order, do it at one stroke, so that being tasted less, it offends less. A leader who is too clement allows disorders to flourish which injure the whole group, while a few well-placed examples of severity restore the discipline that leads to victory. Stand as a lion to terrify the wolves, and a fox to recognize the snares, for the one who relies on simple goodness effects his own ruin among so many who are not good.